It's the chase of them. It's trying to find out if they're real and trying to prove they're real. You know, finding Bigfoot, I think if they ever actually find Bigfoot, that's probably going to be the end of the series, because you've kind of reached that penultimate moment. Then where do you go from there? How would that be for a researcher such as yourself in cataloging these stories? You know, if all of a sudden, say for example, the Boggy Creek Monster showed up on your front door and you were able to take a picture and catalog it and prove to the world that it was real, you know, then does the mystery end there?
Well, you know, in some ways it does, but in some ways it sort of opens up other doors, because, you know, if we did prove, you know, Boggy Creek Monster, perhaps it's not 7 feet tall. Perhaps it's not quite as dangerous looking. It could be 4 feet tall and a little bit, you know, less than impressive. And you never know what the reality of that is. Or even if you did prove it, yeah, you certainly accomplished that. But for myself, you know, I've researched other cryptids, even written other books, and, you know, there's a gamut of cryptids. And I think if one of them was proven, even if it was Bigfoot, all of a sudden people are going to go, oh, wait a minute. So you're saying now we've proved that all these other creatures that have been, you know, Mothman, everything else, now people are going to really get excited over, well, maybe we can prove these other ones. So I think it doesn't end cryptozoology. It may end the quest for Bigfoot, but it would, you know, there's many more cryptids out there to be proven, I guess.
And I think that's all it takes. It takes just, you know, just proving one to change people's mindset. And if you look back in history, we've actually been able to do that with, you know, giant squids. People didn't think that those were real.
Coelacanth.
You know, you see these things that we thought were mythological and then turn out to be real, and that kind of just opens the door for these other things to also kind of fall into that same category of we thought it was until finally we could prove it was.
Right, and I think that people always love mysteries. They'll never, you know, we're not going to be at a point where there's no mysteries. You know, everybody kind of says, oh, well, we sort of know everything, explored the whole planet. Nonsense. There's things to be discovered, and there's always a new mystery around every corner because people love mystery. So I think, you know, there's no point where we would have proved something and then everybody just, like, you know, the air goes out of the balloon. It's still going to be there.
And if you look at some of these other creatures, you know, if you look at, you know, Bigfoot, if you look at other Yeti creatures, if you look at some of these other Mothman, things like that, you look at these stories, for a lot of people, they came to know about them through maybe a show like In Search Of, or maybe a magazine article or something. There's some sort of, I don't want to say completely nonfiction basis, but there's, you know, some sort of an idea of there being a kernel of truth to it as it's coming out. I think a lot of people were exposed to Boggy Creek from the 1972 film. And that's how they learned about that monster. And there's got to be some pitfalls with that as well, too, for this movie to be everybody's kind of first introduction into this creature.
It creates a few misconceptions, but, I mean, you know, luckily, you know, and it's certain that was the introduction to the Fount Monster, the Boggy Creek Monster, for most people, other than the people who lived in the Texarkana, Louisiana area where it would run in the papers. Other than that, it was, you know, unknown to anybody else except the locals. But, you know, it's the movie, you know, it's a horror movie, and it's also got the kind of documentary approach. And luckily that there had been so many reports that the director, Charles Pierce, really just had to follow and sort of dramatize real-life sightings. He didn't have to make up a lot of stuff, so it didn't create too much fictional add-ons. I mean, yes, he did take those sightings and make them as dramatic as possible, but really at the core of it, they're fairly accurate. And so, you know, people, I guess from the movie, they think, you know, Southern Sasquatch is pretty much, you know, they're going to chase you down, you know, they got a bad reputation, and there is some cases like that, but not all cases. But I think that as far as it goes, and after having done all the research, I was quite impressed with the movie being based so much on accurate, eyewitness reports.
Thank you all so much for watching. Make sure that you check us out every Saturday night live at 10 p.m. Make sure to hit that subscribe button too.